As an African, sometimes I ask myself, what has Black Americans really done? Like, how bad has Black Americans really offended you as an immigrant that is staying in America, enjoying all the labor? What has these people literally done to deserve every single hate that is coming from every single angle? And now I understand better when Black Americans are saying they literally do not have allies. They do not. Because let it make sense to me that every single time Black Americans say something on the internet, every single person will take it on their head and they will see the negative part of it. They have never seen anything positive about Black Americans. Why? It's crazy. I don't know. You are in someone's country. They literally paved way for you as an immigrant to be in America. And you still have the audacity. You still have the effrontery. You still have the temerity to call them lazy, product of one night stand. They didn't own anything. They are this, they are that. Whew. Anyways, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in at this episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. With that being said, let's roll out the clips. I'll be back with commentaries.
Black Americans don't run shit in America. You don't own or control anything in America besides your mouth.
If it wasn't for us, you would have never got that job. If it wasn't for us, you would have never got into Harvard. If it wasn't for us, you would have never got into Yale Medical School. If it wasn't for us, you couldn't have married that white girl, although I wish that was a law we never fought for. If it wasn't for us, you could have never lived in that suburb. If it wasn't for us, you would have never got the scholarship. You see what I'm saying? So you literally are building your life off of the blood of my ancestors.
They are not good people is one of the first things that my mom was told when she came to this country.
If you have to kick your men out of the house just to get checks from the government because you are too lazy to work, I can never be jealous of you.
Most immigrants are coming to this country for a better life or to chase the American dream, right? But there's a people in this country who has not experienced that.
What? No, I'll struggle. Watch your mouth. Because if it wasn't for us, you would have never got that job. If it wasn't for us, you would have never got into Harvard. If it wasn't for us, you would have never got into Yale Medical School. If it wasn't for us, you couldn't have married that white girl, although I wish that was a law we never fought for. If it wasn't for us, you could have never lived in that suburb. If it wasn't for us, you would have never got the scholarship. You see what I'm saying? So you literally are building your life off of the blood of my ancestors and got the audacity to turn around and insult the blood that gave you an opportunity to thrive in this nation. That's disrespectful. Although we are all African, there is a tendency for some of our African immigrant brothers and sisters to push a false narrative that they work harder than us when we're the reason you got a chance to work at all over here.
Exactly. Right? We opened the door for the work to even get done.
We opened the door.
It was harder opening the door than it was doing the work.
You didn't shed blood for the rights that you have. We shed the blood for the rights that you have.
We came here to hustle, bro. The same reason we go to France, Britain, Germany. We go to hustle. We don't care about you. See, we learn your history out of courtesy. Out of courtesy. You guys still walk around thinking Africa is a country full of mud huts and mud cookies. You have no courtesy, no respect to learn other people's history. And you think we came here because of you? Shut your dirty black behind up, idiot. Talking about if you hate Black Americans so much, why come to America? Did we come here for you? No. Did Africans come here for you? Did Caribbean people come here for you? Idiot. Listen, you are just upset because Black immigrants that come here don't want to side with your degeneracy. They don't want to side with your ghetto.
If you don't have a blue passport, I would never be jealous of you.
If, after 400 years of slavery, gentrification, redlining, lynching, black codes, all you have to show for it is a blue passport, I can never be jealous of you. If you have to kick your men out of the house just to get checks from the government because you are too lazy to work, I can never be jealous of you. I mean, that is why you're raising these two black boys on your own, right? Too lazy to work, but too proud. We can never be jealous of you. Speaking of kids, If 90% of black kids are raised by black mothers, and most of them turned out gay, most of them turned out pookies, ray-rays, sexy reds, we can never be proud of you. If you make up most of the CPS calls, Child Protective Services calls, come from the black community, we can never be jealous of you. Speaking of the men, if your men make up for most divorces, right? And for some reason, make up for most stepfathers, we can never be proud of them, because that means they would rather take care of a white man's kid than take care of yours. Because guess what? Black kids are overrepresented in foster care. And guess who adopts these kids? YT people who are LGBTQ, HDMI, PS5, right? We can never be jealous of you. If your men would rather spend 24 hours slanging dope at the corner store of a 7-Eleven rather than holding down a 9 to 5 to support their families, we can never be proud of you. If you live on food stamps, we can never be jealous of you. If you have $1.7 trillion of spending power, but choose to let your kids get into the school to prison pipeline because you want to be stingy instead of putting them into proper schools, we can never be jealous of you. I guess what I'm saying is, if you make up 13% of the population and 50% of the crime, we can never be proud of you. We can never be jealous of you. If you lost most of your land after you were set free from slavery, we can never be jealous of you. If for some reason you're the only group of black people with no borders, no currency, no culture, no language, no tribes, we can never be jealous of you.
I would never respect an opinion from somebody who had to move, hop, skip, and jump countries in order to succeed in life, ever.
Let's face it, right? If you did a little bit more of moving, hopping, skipping, and jumping, you will not look like a Michelin tire. You will not look like big bags, because let's face it, if you are the smallest, but for some reason the most obese black community on the planet, we can never be jealous of you. You could use a little bit of that moving, jumping, and skipping. You're out here looking like Oompa Loompa. We can't see your neck bone and you can't see your toes. Your big back probably got belly rolls. Like, what is this? You know the purpose of migration? A lot of you moving back to Africa now. Let's face it, you probably can't afford it because you were flexing a blue passport, which is one of the easiest to get, don't even cost that much. And guess what? A lot of countries use blue passports. A lot of Africans have multiple blue passports. So let's face it, if your value as a black person in 2025 lies on the paperwork the white man gave you, we can never be jealous of you.
You don't.
Across this app, I keep seeing people ask Black Americans, what have immigrants ever done to you? So here's the truth, because we are not going to keep pretending immigrants are automatically innocent just because supremacy is the bigger villain. Yes, immigration has caused harm to the Black American community. Not every immigrant, not only immigrant, and not always with intent, but measurable harm has happened. Economically, many employers have chosen immigrant labor at lower wages instead of hiring Black workers at fair wages. That choice has reduced opportunities for Black workers in the job sectors where we have historically been concentrated. That is a harm. Politically, as immigrant populations grew, major parties shifted their promises, their attention, and resources toward new voting blocs. The Black agenda has been repeatedly deprioritized as politicians calculate numbers rather than loyalty. That is harm. Culturally, Black American creativity has been used globally as a resource, while Black Americans are erased as origin. At the same time, many immigrants adopt negative stereotypes about Black Americans when they arrive because they learn quickly that distancing from us provides social benefits in this system. That is a harm. Geographically, the pattern is the same across multiple cities. Long-standing Black neighborhoods lost their population share and cultural control as new communities with greater economic leverage moved in. Gentrification and repopulation, and both resulted in Black displacement. That is a harm. Socially, immigrants did not enter a neutral landscape. They entered a country with an existing racial order that rewards those who rise above Black Americans, whether conscious or not. Many participated in that reward structure. That is a harm. And the only reason this conversation is treated like a taboo is because Black Americans are allowed to blame supremacy, but not allowed to acknowledge lateral harm from anyone else. We are allowed to hurt. We are just not allowed to name who contributed to the harm unless the answer is people. That is not hate. That is not xenophobia. That is not jealousy. It is displacement layered on top of sacrifice. Black Americans built what we built under terror and brutality, and everyone else arrived and benefited from that foundation. And when we say protect our share, protect our identity, protect our cultural space, we are told we do not get to decide. That is a harm. No one is asking immigrants to leave this country. Well, some people are, but I'm not. Not all of us are. No one is asking immigrants to undo history or carry guilt for what they didn't personally do. What is being asked and has always been asked is simple. Acknowledge the part you play in continuing the harm, whether you meant to or not. This has always been about accountability and acknowledgement. If accountability feels like an attack, ask yourself why you're willing to abandon being the harmed class in your own country just to become part of the system that harms us in this one.
Really care about British people, quote unquote, taking black jobs. That doesn't make any sense. What I care about is British people constantly spreading this American agenda about black people to the rest of the world. British people are constantly playing either slaves or gangsters, both which are a harmful depiction of black Americans. Continuous push for this slave or servitude role of black people has worn out. We don't need to keep reimagining slavery for the enjoyment of white people, nor do we have to keep imagining gang culture and violence for the enjoyment of white people. But most importantly, British people don't have to get their English ass up on that motherfucking screen during them interviews and tell us how much disdain they have for black American culture. That's the part that fries me over and over again. It's to me that they are helping push an agenda. Because it's one thing to just play the role, but when you combine the role, the continuous disrespect about black American culture, it seems purposeful. You're getting to act out very things that you find distasteful about us. A lot of the critique about black Americans from diasporic people is that we come from slaves, that we are violent and angry and ignorant. And so when you get on TV and you play those roles and then you go on the little interviews and you confirm that that's how you see us in real life, to me, that's a problem. And I don't see how anyone can say that's not a problem. You want to compare it to black people playing diasporic people, but name one black actor who has played an African role and then got on an interview and told us how much she dislikes black Africans or how much she believes that their culture is irrelevant or has no purpose or no value. You're never going to see that. Black people do not disrespect other people's cultures. Nor, this is the important part, nor is there an agenda to represent diasporic black people as degenerate in Hollywood. That does not exist for other groups of people. I continuously tell y'all that black Americans are in a peculiar situation because we live in the eye of our own oppression, whereas everyone else lives on the outskirts of their oppression. Not see how that's different? Movies that black Americans play about diasporic people are positive representations of the diaspora. The same cannot be said for the British.
I've made a video about this before, something akin to this. And this is, I guess, kind of like an angst that I have because so many people on this app are cool of just dissing black Americans, of just negating our contributions to the development of the United States, of our culture, etc. And so I want to make this video, and I guess maybe the video could be like a caveat, maybe it could be informative, but I hope that you extrapolate something from this video. The privilege that many come here and take advantage of, it came at a price. That price was blood. The price was the turpitude and the tyranny against an entire people in this particular country. And so when people come here and they automatically want to defecate on black culture, or they want to juxtapose themselves and say that, hey, I'm not a black American, I am Nigerian. I am not a black American, I am Ghanaian. I am not a black American, I am Haitian, or I am Jamaican. They want to make these lines of demarcation as if the black American is absolutely the lowest thing that you can be culturally. We're the most uncouth, the most uneducated. And people are so comfortable doing this, and even from groups of European descent. So if we're looking at America as a tapestry of culture, if we're looking at America, theoretically that is, as a family of an amalgamation of different people coming together, we will acknowledge everybody's contribution, except the contribution of black Americans. And like I said, I'm not a person that subscribes to the fictive pseudoscientific concept of race, because I don't believe in that. But I do understand that these constructs do hold real world consequences, and they are significant. So often these lines of demarcation, we do this because we want to prove that we're not of the uncouth African-American black culture, the uncultured culture, the culture that really has no culture. So we make these lines of demarcation. Or if you're from European descent, you want to be on the side of mainstream culture to often castigate and be critical of black Americans. And if you don't realize that black Americans have culture and we contributed significantly to the growth of American culture, you're being historically ignorant. So to my immigrants that are seeking a better life, when you come here to take advantage of the privileges and conveniences, know that those privileges and conveniences were facilitated by the free labor and exploitation of black Americans for over 200 plus years. So do not be so quick to diss black Americans, say that they have no culture, if you do not understand that fact. Because the conveniences and the privileges that you're able to benefit off of do not exist without the labor of black Americans. Be historically sound. Peace.
If I could dispel one myth in the world, it would be that there is some sort of nobility in suffering. And let me tell you why. This comment came up under the video that I made about the Irish potato famine, which is called the Great Hunger in Ireland, because it wasn't actually a famine. There was plenty of food on the island had the British been willing to give it to the Irish, which they were not. And I don't want to speak specifically to the role that the Irish immigrants in America played in perpetuating the oppression of other marginalized groups and in perpetuating systemic racism. They had a role, and I'm happy to address that in greater depth in a future video. But what I wanted to talk about in the video today is the idea that suffering somehow automatically grants you empathy. We cling to this idea in spite of all evidence to the contrary, and I want to talk about it. This is a very Christian idea. This is a very old idea. This is the idea that whatever sufferings you have in this life are going to lead to your reward in the next life. That these sufferings are a beautification of your soul so that when you reach the next life, you will ascend to the kingdom of heaven. That's where this idea comes from. I think at best it's really harmful, it's overused, and it just doesn't match with reality. In the secular world, this might look like phrases like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, or this idea that suffering builds character, right? What does that even mean, builds character? And in the Protestant world, maybe this would look like saying things like, God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers, kind of a thing. It's this idea that somehow there is good to be found in suffering, that there is nobility to be found in suffering. And this is just objectively not true. Anyone who has met a person who has gone through enormous suffering knows that that might grant them empathy, and it might not. Often, it does not. I think of the example of FDR. He was a wealthy Anglo-Saxon white dude who grew up one of the blue blood families on the East Coast of the United States. This is the closest that Americans get to a noble class. He was a member of that class. And he got married to a fantastic woman, his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt. They had a number of children. He began to pursue a career in politics. Had he simply gone into politics as a healthy, able-bodied man, he would not in any way be the FDR that we know today. But he contracted polio, and he became very, very ill, and he never fully recovered. As I think most people know, he was effectively paralyzed from the waist down and was also in a great deal of pain. And he actively suffered physically a great deal for the rest of his life. And that taught him empathy for the suffering of the everyday human. And we take this story as inspirational, right? Because this wealthy patrician man was able to learn empathy through his own suffering. But he wasn't able to learn empathy through his wife's experiences, which I'm sure she told him about because she was Eleanor Roosevelt. He wasn't able to learn empathy through his children. That didn't do it. He wasn't able to learn empathy just by hearing the stories of people in the world. That should be enough. That should be enough. But no, he had to be in immense and debilitating pain for the rest of his life in order to learn empathy. And even then, it was lucky that he learned empathy. So when a population, when a people go through what the Irish went through during the potato famine, you really want there to be some good that comes out of it. You want the people who went through that to have come out of it with some empathy. And I have no doubt that some people did. But the reality is that extreme trauma causes a lot of different reactions in human beings, and not all or even most of those reactions are empathy. A lot of those reactions are self-hatred. Some of those reactions are a dark nihilism. Some of those reactions are to mimic the characteristics of the people who brutalized them in order to no longer be brutalized. All of these reactions, by the way, are freaking understandable. They're understandable. They're human. So the people that this commenter is talking about are people who were deeply, deeply traumatized, and their reaction to that was to brutalize rather than be brutalized themselves. That wasn't the morally right thing to do, but that is what some people will do when they come out of trauma. And I want us to be very, very clear as well that I think in the human animal, there's merely present in a lot of us humans the impulse to brutalize. If that impulse is encouraged or not actively discouraged, then there are some percentage of the population who are going to brutalize. Like, that is, it's within us. It's something that can happen, even without trauma, even with just like a happy home. With a happy home and reasonably kind parents and reasonably prosperous circumstances, some people will just brutalize. And I'm not even talking about people who are like toxic narcissists or who are psychopaths. I'm talking about like regular ass people who, if they aren't given enough disincentives, will just brutalize. So I think we really need to understand within ourselves that sometimes from suffering comes more suffering. From suffering that has been caused to us, we can cause more suffering to other people unless we recognize and check those impulses within ourselves. The impulse towards nihilism, the impulse towards mimicking our brutalizers, the impulse towards dehumanizing people who have not suffered in the exact same way that we have suffered, or people who are not members of our tribe. I think we need to be really, 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 really careful when we have these conversations to focus on the stories and the systems of oppression that are present in those stories, to honor the story. I honor the story of the Irish potato famine. I hear that story and I am very, very, very emotionally moved by it, and I'm devastated that that happened to any group of people. But I do not assume that coming out of that they're somehow going to become something other than human.
It's quite sad, honestly. It's quite sad that the people you paved way for, the people you tried every single thing to love them, the people you tried to show them helping hand, are still that same people biting and saying a lot of things about you. I don't know where that hatred came from, honestly. Because if you check the internet, 99% of the back and forths that Black Americans do have, right, is as a result of one or two immigrants saying something bad about them. I don't know why a lot of people, especially immigrants coming from Africa, always love to justify everything they are doing as Black people are lazy. I don't know where the term Black Americans are lazy came out from. Honestly, sometimes I ask myself questions that I literally do not get answers to. I don't know where the term of Black Americans don't build any shit is coming out from. So sometimes I ask myself, where is the root of this hatred? The problem we have is the fact that we idolize white people so much. We worship white people so much, especially in Africa. So anything that any other Black person is doing, anything that any other foundational Black American is doing, it pisses you off to your bone marrow, to the point you have to see all of that shit for someone that you are benefiting from their country, from the pains they've been through, for someone that paved way for you to be in America. You still have the audacity. Oh my God. quite sad, honestly. It's quite sad that instead of we looking at each other, loving each other, respecting each other, we are seeing the other way around. We are seeing things that we're not even meant to see. And it's really bad. There is nothing, as far as I'm concerned, that would justify the acts of an immigrant calling Black Americans all of that name. Nothing justifies that, I'm sorry to say. If I don't like you, I don't need to insult you to make you know that I don't like you. And you know the funniest part is the fact that Black Americans will be minding their business. They will always mind their business. But you will still see people that will come for them. There are people that have designed that their problems is whenever they have to say something about Black Americans. It's sad. It's really, really sad. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our this episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.